Hi guys, Ant here to give you a state of the collection. I haven't done one of these videos, it turns out, since July last year. In that time, it doesn't look like a lot's changed. Actually, I've had a lot of pens come in and out. If you go and check that video, you'll see 3 pens missing from since then. One is my Shon full-size black Ultim, which I had a King of Pen nib in, which is now in this Conid. The second was the Kasama Una Panahon, which I love dearly but didn't find myself using. And the third being the Pilot Capless Wish edition, which again, very fond of, but didn't actually find myself using that much. There have been 5 pens that I've added in since, leaving me with 12 full-size pens here. I keep a second collection, you could say, of pocket pens too. There's only one pen that I'm due to add to this, which is my Herkazi, which I'm due to receive in September, which will take up this spot here, and then who knows, but I hope I'm done. I've stayed pretty loyal to the pens that are here, and I feel like I've got the right size collection for me. I always tend to hover somewhere between 10 and 15. I've got all the pens here in this Toyoka Craft chest. I actually have a smaller Toyoka coming in, which will fit better in my current desk setup. Pen number 1, and this was in the last video, is my extra fine platinum trim Mont Blanc. I have a very strong argument that the Mont Blanc 149 is my favourite pen and possibly the best pen for the money that you can buy. It has obviously that huge number 9 sized nib, piston filler, great level of comfort, and all the practicality that you could want. Decent clip, never dries out. I've never ever had a problem with one, and I've owned multiple 149s. So much so that it's the only pen in the collection that I have 2 of. You'll see here the unfortunately gold trimmed curved nib special edition, which is probably not going to show up so much on the video, but it has a very steep foot to the nib and writes such a glorious impractical line that I actually find myself writing with it quite a lot. Speaking of impractical pens, this is the Desiderata Sobriquet in Eucalyptus Burl. It's the second one of these that I've owned, and probably the 7th or 8th Sobriquet. I keep coming back to them. This one has a bit of a dodgy end. It's a natural wood, it has imperfections, and it looks like just where the cone should be, there was an imperfection. So now I have a little flat spot. The thing that makes this pen special, and what I think ties the whole thing together, is it has this silver nib in it from Annabelle Hillier, Cineris, Opus Cineris, and this is a big juicy stub with an ebonite feed. It's kind of wonky and kind of a bit rough in places, but that's the charm, and it's the same charm that you get from this hand-turned piston filler here from Pierre over in the States. So very fond of that nib, and actually I use it much more than I probably should, given how wide the stub is. Another pen that will never leave my collection, or at least it hasn't so far, and I love it dearly, is this custom Anoto Magna in the Midsummer Night resin, which is kind of like red onion colour. Sterling silver trim, as all proper Anotos do. It says the word custom here on the end, and the reason it's custom is twofold. Number 1, it has this number 8 gold fine nib, and inside no barrel weight, but that's because it has the custom fitted Anoto brass plunger filler, which gives it tons of capacity and a really pleasant heft. The other thing that's custom about this pen, and I know Anoto is moving this way, is that it takes less than 2 turns to remove the cap. And if you've owned an earlier Magna, which took 3.5 or 4 turns to remove the cap, you will appreciate that difference. The Lamy 2000 Bauhaus Blue edition of 1,919 pens with the extra fine nib, one of the most practical, iconic pens in my collection. That one's definitely never going anywhere. Equally iconic, but exactly the opposite aesthetic. This is the turquoise celluloid from Montegrappa in the Extra Otto 8-sided edition. This pen has an extra fine nib, ebonite feed, everything on it that's metal that you see is sterling silver, and it's just a fabulous piece of luxury, which also just happens to be have an incredible spec sheet in terms of that large wonderful nib, integral piston filler, great cap threads, the works. One of the Italian greats. Speaking of Italian greats, long time viewers may remember that I had the core of my collection for a long time, a Leonardo Cuspide or Cuspida, which had a number 6 nib. I sold that pen. I've bought a couple of these number 8 size Momento Zero Grande pens. This one has a lovely blue ebonite feed, a fine gold nib, and that great almost Arco style resin. It's not a celluloid, but gives you the same kind of glow and alignment issues as well, if you've ever owned any Arco. I had in my last video the Matthew Martin Homage, which is this pen, which has got the best cap threads I have ever experienced. For that reason, I will never sell this pen. And you'll see that there's a bit of an unusual nib in here, which is the Sean Design Monarch with an Ultem feed. I figured it was fitting to put a unique titanium American-made nib in a unique American titanium pen. It's a great combination. I use it eyedropper periodically, but it always burps. So in this case, it has a converter. From titanium to titanium, this is the re-released Conid King size in titanium and polycarbonate. Just the reason for the hesitation there, I've just noticed I've got a little bit of ink trapped behind the piston there, which is frustrating. This has the King of Pen nib that I've had floating around for a while and was in my Sean. It's great with the extra capacity and the extra length of this pen, and I find myself using it a lot. Engineering marvel to engineering marvel, this is the Otto Hutt Design C, the limited edition of 500, and absurd price, gold Jowo number 6 nib, and a very strange balance, very strange grip, very strange filler. It is a very strange pen, and I love it dearly, and use it fairly regularly. It hasn't let me down yet. I think it's a fingerprint magnet, so it always looks messy, but it looks almost like an alien artifact. Love it. That pen is solid silver, so is this one. This is the Montblanc Martelet for hammered. As my collection has grown into so many number 8 size nibs and larger pens, this pen feels smaller and smaller every time I use it. Like the 149s that I showed earlier, it really never lets me down. It's never dry, the cap threads never give me a problem, the piston never gives me a problem, it holds loads of ink, just generally a pen you can rely on. It's also gorgeous. The most recent addition to my collection is this one. This is the Ben Walsh polycarbonate VAC pen, and many people will spot immediately. It looks a bit like a Conid. It's a VAC filler like the Pilot 823, and the difference with that is that you can unscrew this section and get a proper clean inside the barrel, and it takes Jowo fit nibs. What I've got installed in here is the Platinum 3776 nib in a flexible nib factory housing. So give me the great writing experience I love from this Japanese soft fine, huge ink capacity, demonstrator, and a lovely bit of weight from the titanium elements in here, with a big long section which has a gentle curve to it. So I actually have the Ultem version in piss amber coming, but this polycarbonate version actually is lovely, and Ben has done a great job of getting a good polish on the interior surfaces and a general overall fabulous fit and finish. So that's 12 pens from, with the exception of Montblanc, of which there are 3. Only 1 pen from any manufacturer. 2 sterling silver, 2 titanium, 2 resin, celluloid, Macrolon, wood, precious resin, clear polycarbonate, loads of different brands, loads of different aesthetics, loads of different origins, almost all self-filling with the exception of the Monarch. I'm really happy with this collection. It's taken me a while to refine to this point, and I hope you've enjoyed this tour of it. Thanks a lot.